We've chatted a little bit about the Superfund tax. I know something that's maybe been a bit of a thorn in your guys' side here recently with understanding the legislation and what it means for companies like ours.
Yes.
So what is going on with Superfund tax? What's the background on it, and some of the complexities and issues that have come up with some of your distribution members?
Oh, well, in all my 18 years here at NACD, this has been the biggest nightmare issue I've ever seen. So the Superfund tax it was put into effect originally in the early 80s, and then Congress let it expire at the end of 1995. And one of the elements of that was an excise tax on chemicals. And in the big infrastructure package that was enacted in November, they snuck this back in there. So it took a couple weeks for everybody to realize what was going on, and then everybody was trying to figure out what does this mean? How do we comply with this? And so we put together had an initial webinar in January and put together an initial informational paper. So what this does, there are kind of two lists. One is of taxable chemicals, and one is of taxable substances. And the taxable chemicals are pretty straightforward, and then the substances get a little bit more complicated because it has to do with if those are imported, and there's a list, and the IRS has provided rates for most of those substances, but not all. So we have been going back and forth with the IRS trying to get additional guidance. For example, when a mixture is imported, so if it's not on the substance list, but it has taxable chemicals or substances in it, how is that handled? That's just one of the examples of the really complex questions. And another caveat of this tax is that semi-monthly deposits are required. So the tax officially became effective on July 1st, and then the first semi-monthly deposit was due on July 29th, when all of these questions are still pending out there. So the IRS did provide a little bit of penalty relief. They issued a memo a few months ago saying that they wouldn't come after firms who made a good faith effort to make those deposits. And then the second part of this is that there are quarterly filings due, and the first one of those is due on October 31st. And so at that point, companies should try to have everything reconciled and make those complete payments. So those will be due every quarter. We're still waiting for more information. We've sent two big letters to the IRS. We met with them via phone call in mid-July, and they really didn't answer a lot of our questions. So we've been getting letters from the Hill to go up there asking for guidance. We've sent letters. We're encouraging fellow trade associations to do the same. So as I'm sure you've seen in the news, the IRS is very understaffed. So I think they may have 4 people working on this, and it's a huge issue.
Wow.
So, yeah, so
And
we'll keep plugging away, and we regularly update our paper, and we have a big frequently asked questions document, which we will also be we're about to release a new version of that with some clarifications. So another complication is that the IRS had proposed regulations in 1983 to implement the first round of this, never finalized those regulations. But that is all that we have to really look for guidance at this point. So
huh.
it's amazing. And so
Yeah, and
we have to say that, well, this is the caveat. This is some information, but it's not, it's not set in stone. So
right.
just do your best.
Yeah, right. And we can make sure if you can send over that link. We'll obviously put that FAQ link down in the show notes for wherever people are streaming this. Will be a great resource.
Oh yeah, happy to do that.
And one of the questions I know we got, and I don't know if you know the answer to it directly, something specific with TCC's business, we'll bring in a product and then resell it, or we may be buying a product from a supplier that's already been imported in the U.S., which may have already been, subject to the Superfund tax. So I know one of the big questions we've had is sometimes a product could get bought, resold, packaged, but it's still the same purity and now is being sold again. How many different layers does the Superfund tax apply all the time? Does it only apply when it's actually being imported? I know that's been a big question mark for us on when a product is actually subject to being, applicable to some of these taxes.
Yeah, that has caused a lot of confusion. So with the taxable chemicals, that applies to producers and manufacturers, and it becomes effective when they sell the product. So I know, and maybe you've received these too from your suppliers, from domestic suppliers, they'll have a line item for what these Superfund taxes are on the chemicals. And then when it gets to the distributor level, I mean, it's really up to the distributor how they want to handle that. They don't have to pay the tax again, although they're paying it through this line item, but they might need to update their prices to make up for that or however they want to
Right.
handle it, or they could even do line items if they want. And then for the imported substances, so the tax is actually due when the importer sells or uses the chemical. So not upon import, it's when it's actually sold or used or warehoused.
But so in that case, if a product like again, a product could be sold three times. It could be sold to a distributor and then sold to another company who may then put it in totes and then sold in
Mhm.
totes. So all three of those sales would be subject to the Superfund tax in that case.
No, the idea is it's only paid once
One
to
time,
to
one
to
time.
the IRS, but then as it goes down the supply chain, the upstream party will pass the costs along in some way or another, but the IRS only
Got it.
theoretically gets paid once.
Got it. So on a theoretical 7,000, a tank truck, a 7,000 gallon purchase of something, that's being paid to the government one time, and then it's just a matter of how the companies downstream absorb that extra, additional cost, whether they add a line item or just build it into their pricing. It's going to increase pricing slightly.
Correct.
Got it. Interesting. Okay.
But it
See, even I,
it
even I
has
learned something
caused
here.
a tremendous amount of confusion.
Yeah. And it sounds, Superfund tax, it sounds relatively straightforward on its face, but then you dig into the details of when it's due and what's due and, what's considered a sale or not a sale or an import. It's amazing how many different levels of questions can get baked in there.
Yeah, this is definitely the regulation that NACD has received the most questions on since I've been here,
Yeah, I believe it.
understandably.
I believe it. So it sounds like obviously you guys are working on getting answers. You're publishing FAQs and info as you're getting updates from the IRS and different regulatory bodies, which sounds like it's maybe few and far between, but something you guys are actively keeping an eye on and working on and publishing updates as you have them.
Yes, absolutely, and we put those in our, so if it's a really big piece of news, we'll do a special regulatory alert to draw attention to it. And we'll also follow up with articles in our weekly, news brief, which is our, regulatory and legislative e-newsletter that goes out every Tuesday.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, it sounds like a great resource. If someone listening isn't currently a member of the NACD or getting some of that info, maybe a great reason to join or get involved and reach out to you to at least get some guidance on what's happening there.
Yes, absolutely. Because I wonder if a company isn't a member of a trade association like NACD, I wonder how they would even know about something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I know some people may think of the NACD or different trade organizations maybe based on the trade shows they put on or different marketing events that they host and things like that. But this is obviously, maybe something that doesn't cross the minds of an average salesperson or product manager or whatnot. But people that are focusing on, the invoicing and the billing and the regulatory side of things, it's a huge, huge asset to have a resource like you guys to be able to answer some of these questions.